All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are breaking down India's economic strategy. We're looking at how it's playing the long game in a world that, let's be honest, is more fractured than ever. We're going to unpack all the key findings on the external sector from the brand new economic survey for 2025-26. Okay, let's start with this quote because it really gets to the heart of the matter. It's a paradox, right? India is firing on all cylinders, posting some of its best economic numbers in decades. But here's the catch. The global system has changed. The old playbook, where a strong economy automatically gets you rewards like stable investment, well, that playbook's been thrown out the window. This really sets the scene for everything we're about to discuss. And this image here, it perfectly captures what we're talking about. This is India's external sector. You can think of it as the country's economic connection to the rest of the planet. It's all the trade, all the investment, all the money flowing in and out. And right now, it's navigating some seriously choppy waters. So, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the new global gauntlet, basically all the new challenges out there. Then we'll check out India's resilient report card to see how it's holding up. After that, we dive into the tricky capital flow conundrum. And we'll wrap up with the big one, the path to strategic indispensability, India's grand strategy for the future. Okay, let's get into it. First up, the new global gauntlet. This is all about understanding the new world order that India's economy finds itself in. And believe me, it is way more challenging. So here's the absolute key takeaway. The age of what people called hyperglobalization, where goods and money zipped across borders without a second thought, that's over. Done. We are now living in a much more fragmented, much more cautious world, where every country is thinking very carefully about who it depends on. So what do these headwinds actually look like? Well, we're talking about more protectionism, more tariffs. We're seeing big economies strategically decoupling from each other. In geopolitics, it's completely redrawing the map of global supply chains. It's not just about who can make something the cheapest anymore. Now, it's about who you can trust. It's a whole new ballgame called geostrategic globalization, where national security and alliances are driving economic decisions. And all of this has given rise to this really important term, economic statecraft. This is basically when countries start using their economic tools, tariffs, trade deals, you name it, not just to get rich, but as weapons to achieve their foreign policy goals. It is a massive game changer. So with this crazy new gauntlet thrown down, how has India's external sector actually done? Well, that brings us to our second section. Let's take a look at India's report card and see just how well it's navigating this storm. Okay, this number is just, wow, $825.3 billion. In a year filled with global chaos and trade fights, you'd probably expect exports to take a hit. But nope, India's total exports, that's goods and services, hit an all-time record high. That right there is a huge signal of just how resilient the economy has become. Now, this is where the story gets really interesting. Look at these two bars. On one side, you've got the trade deficit for physical goods. India imports more stuff than it exports. But then look at that other bar, a massive surplus in services. India's booming services sector is like a giant shock absorber for the economy, balancing out a huge piece of that goods deficit. It's an incredible dynamic. And this table perfectly illustrates what we mean by adaptability. Just look at auto components. Exports to the US were down, probably because of tariffs. So, did the whole sector just shrink? Not at all. In fact, overall exports to the world went up. How? Because these companies pivoted, and fast. They went out and found new, hungry markets in places like the UAE and Germany. That is strategic diversification in real time. But it's not all a simple success story. Things are a bit more complicated than that. Let's move on to a really tricky part of the puzzle in our third section, the capital flow conundrum. And this slide asks the million-dollar question, or maybe the billion-rupee question. If India's economy is doing so well, why has the rupee been underperforming? It feels like a total paradox, right? A real head-scratcher. Well, the answer, according to the survey, is all about foreign capital. See, India relies on investment from other countries to help balance its books. The thing is, in today's super cautious world, that money isn't a sure thing. These flows are, as the survey puts it, conditional and reversible. That means they can dry up in an instant or even reverse and flow out of the country based on global moods, pushing the rupee down no matter how strong India's domestic economy is. And this chart, man, it just lays that volatility bare. Just look at the wild swing in what's called foreign portfolio investment. A massive $41 billion inflow one year, then a nearly $4 billion outflow the next. This isn't long-term investment in factories. This is what they call hot money, and it can leave just as fast as it arrived. So, given this very complex reality, what's the plan? What's the long game? This brings us to our final, and I think most fascinating section, the path to indispensability. This slide lays out the core strategic shift. The goal is to move beyond just being resilient, being tough enough to take a punch. The new goal is strategic indispensability. That's about becoming so critical, so deeply woven into global systems that other countries literally can't afford for you to fail. They become invested in your success. So how on earth does India get there? Well, the survey lays out this 4-step path. It's an all-out mission mode approach. It's about getting the fundamentals right, driving down manufacturing costs, overhauling logistics, and making Indian exports so competitive that they become the obvious choice for global companies. And this quote just nails the end goal perfectly. Indispensability is when the world stops thinking about buying Indian and just starts buying Indian without thinking. It's when Indian products and services are the default, the no-brainer, the go-to choice around the globe. And that leads us to the final big picture question this whole survey leaves us with. In this new era, an era defined by strategic competition, can India really convert its massive economic size into true, lasting global influence? The answer to that question is going to define the next chapter of India's story on the world stage.